Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever it is you're picking up this video. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host Owen, channel that brings you free Rangers content every single day. Daily content you don't have to pay for, you don't have to pay a weekly fee for or a monthly fee for. It is completely free for you to access all the latest news, views, rumors, updates, statements, podcasts, live streams on our club, the one, the only, the famous Glasgow Rangers. That's the only way to do it, guys. It's here, it's free. So hit that sub, ring that notification bell. And you know what? Give the video a like. You know what? Can't why? Because apparently it helps this YouTube algorithm, which promotes the video more, which makes the video more popular, which helps to grow the channel. And we want to get to 3K subs by the end of August, if not before. Your support to this point, Rangers family, has been absolutely phenomenal. So let's keep that amazing support going. Well, we're going to cover a few different things in this morning, this afternoon, this evening's video, depending when you're picking it up. I'm not with my usual computer equipment, but as always, we are dedicated to bring you the very latest as it happens, when it happens, and on a daily basis to you, wherever you are watching this video. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about Connor Goldson. We're going to talk about Rangers Museum. We're going to talk about what Michael Beale's had to say about Glenn Kamara. We're going to talk about the Viaplay last 16 draw. We're going to talk a bit about Stephen Davis as well. And also, touch a little bit on, starting to look ahead to next Saturday. Next Saturday, Rangers kick off the SPFL season at 5:15. Well, for them, they do, with a game away at Rugby Park against Kilmarnock. And we'll look a little bit ahead to that as well later in the video about, what's the best formation, what's the best shape, who are the players that have to play from the start, and what worries have we got going in to that Kilmarnock game. There will also be a live preview on Friday at 11 a.m. in the morning. Evening podcast a bit hard for me at the moment as I'm doing a lot of late at work. Unfortunately, this is not my full-time job yet. One day, hopefully, it will be, talking to you about all things Rangers. We need to grow the channel to, 8, 10, 15,000 subscribers, or even perhaps CJ Nova levels of 55 to 60,000 subscribers. So please keep hitting that sub and help us to bring you all this content for nothing. Well, let's first of all touch on Connor Goldson. Now, look, I get it. I understand. I know it. I don't, you know what? Before we even, the moment we mentioned those two names, those two words, Connor Goldson, I immediately divided the people watching this video. Half of you think he's rubbish. Half of you think that he shouldn't play for Rangers. Half of you think that we should sell him, and half of you think that he's great and he is a fantastic defender. Look, I get it. It happens with a lot of Rangers players, doesn't it? That split the fan base directly down the middle. And I think Connor Goldson's no different, just like James Tavernier, Rashid Sakala, for example. Now, Connor Goldson, look, I'll be absolutely straight up honest with you, and you all know my position on Connor. I'm a fan of Connor. I like Connor. I think he's a good defender. I think for the money we paid for him, for what he's achieved for the club so far, we've got a good, solid defender. Look, I'm not saying he's world class. I'm not saying he's outstanding. I'm not saying he's international class. I'm realistic about Connor Goldson. If Connor Goldson didn't make mistakes, if he was mistake free, if he was the an elite level defender, would he be playing in the SPFL for Rangers? Probably not. Would he be playing in the EPL for Manchester City, Arsenal, Manchester United, or in La Liga for Barcelona, Real Madrid? Yeah, of course he would. Those defenders, they're the ones that are mistake free. They're the ones that are outstanding. The Virgil van Dijks of this world, for example. But Connor Goldson has his problems. Of course he does. He makes mistakes. Yes, he does. But he's still a good defender. Rangers defense looks better when Connor's there than when Connor isn't there. Now, before any of you say that, oh yeah, but that's not the case, Owen, one stat for you: Rangers towards the end of last season, whenever Connor Goldson wasn't in the team, were conceding double the number of goals they would be conceding if Connor Goldson was in the team. So the defense is a lot more solid when he is there. He is a great communicator, a great organizer. He's a good pass with the ball, reads the game very well. So like I said, personally, I'm a fan of Connor, and I think we've got to kind of cut our coat according to our cloth. Is he the best defender at Rangers? Probably not. That's probably John Souttar when fit. John Souttar's been outstanding this pre-season. I thought he was outstanding towards the end of last season. However, why are we talking about Connor Goldson? It's not just to defend him or to start the debate off again. We're talking about Connor Goldson because there's a lot of talk about when is he going to be back, when will he be fit, when he will be able to play again. Given Rangers' defensive woes and struggles during pre-season, when at times the defence was, well, comic cuts, I think that's a bit of an insult to comedy, really. Some of the defending was even worse than that. A lot of fans want to know when Connor will be back. Well, Michael Beale announced the other day that Connor will be able to start training with the first team on Thursday, August the 3rd. So towards the end of this week. Now, this may mean that he's returned to training does not come in time for him to start against Kilmarnock on Saturday. Perhaps the week after been a more realistic expectation. So it does look like Connor, possibly on the bench, but realistically won't be match sharp, match fit, or ready to go before weeks 2, 3, or even the Celtic Old Firm game. Before he is available to play, which obviously presents Rangers with a dilemma. Who do we play at centre back? Now, a sick bug or some sort of bug went through the camp before the Hoffenheim game, which shed us of Ben Davies. And look, we all have our views on Ben Davies. Personally, I don't rate him. I think we need to move him on. John Souttar was also out ill, which left us with Balogun and Yefko. By the end of the game, we had two midfielders playing at centre back. There was a real shortage there. So, realistically, who starts on Saturday? Well, I would say it's probably more likely to be John Souttar and Ben Davies who will start, or even John Souttar and Liam Balogun who will make the start against Kilmarnock. I think this game will come too soon for Connor, and as much as we might want Connor there, as much as we might want Connor back and fit and raring to go, yes, he will start training on Thursday, but realistically, given the fact that he's missed the entire pre-season and has no match sharpness, you can't expect a player who's had no pre-season and has had literally 2 days of training to come in and start a game. So it looks very much like we will be without Connor Goldson at the start of the season and probably for the first Champions League qualifier out as well, which obviously means a lot of pressure will fall on Liam Balogun and John Souttar and Ben Davies. Although Dijon Sterling, despite his insistences, can actually play as a centre half. But interesting news nonetheless on Connor. Obviously, we want Connor back as soon as possible, but we don't need to rush him back because we don't want to risk a relapse in any injury that he sustains. Okay, so moving on, there's a lot of talk, isn't there, about players leaving Ibrox and moving out. Obviously, the Glenn Kamara to Leeds, apparently negotiations are still ongoing. Scott Wright to Pendixport, again, negotiations are still ongoing. According to reports coming out of Rangers, Scott Wright flew out to Turkey again this weekend to continue negotiations with the new Turkish Superliga team to see whether the transfer could be completed. Fashion Sakala wasn't obviously in the matchday squad for the Hoffenheim friendly on Saturday. Rumours abound about his future. A number of reports this weekend claiming that Rangers have told him that he can find a new club and that he is surplus to requirements. Apparently some unhappiness at him turning down a £4 million move to Saudi, although rumours have it that the Saudis are back in for Fashion Sakala. Obviously quite why he's turned down the move. Some people suggesting it is on personal beliefs, that Sachin Takala is a very Christian individual and Saudi is obviously a very Islamic country, and two views don't tend to mix. And given the fact that Saudi has a very oppressive regime and has a lack of religious freedom out there, and also a lack of tolerance of anything that is not the one religion, which we all know is unacceptable, but unfortunately that is the case, is apparently turning Fashion off a move. So goes the rumor. But look, I'll leave it there. My views on Saudi Arabia, what I think of the country. But look, if we can get money for Sakala even, it's all good, all positive. We do need to generate more income. There is a need there to move certain players out. I think for too long now we've hung on to players that perhaps have served their useful purpose, and perhaps Fashion Sakala is one of those players who has served his useful purpose, and his time at the club has come to an end. As I said on yesterday's video, look, he's a nice lad, he works hard, but the thing for me with Fashion is when we need to depend on him, when it really matters, when it really counts. Semi-final v Celtic, the final v Celtic, he's let us down. He makes critical mistakes, and when Fashion thinks, Fashion makes mistakes. When Fashion doesn't think, he looks quite good. It's all that whole thing, isn't it? World beater, carpet beater, bit of both from Fashion to Carla. And I just think that, if Rangers are seriously going to move on, kick on, and become a team that repeatedly wins the Scottish League, competes in Europe, a player like Fashion to Carla is not the answer. Look, is he the top person to transfer out? Of course he isn't. Kamara, Wright, Lundstrom, Barisic, Matondo, all ahead of him for me in terms of shipping them out of the club. But if we can get 4-5 million for Sakala, it would be foolish for us to turn it down. Again, guys, with all these stories, I need to know. I'd love to know what you think. I love reading your comments. I love getting your questions. And you can always comment, and I will always get back to you as soon as I can, work and family commitments allowing. You can also obviously get in contact on Twitter at GRN1872. You can email us, GlasgowRangersNation@gmail.com. Plenty of ways to get in contact. Glasgow Rangers Nation Official on Facebook is our group as well. Please ask to join, and you can obviously take part in the debate. Well, let's move on now to another player who has been rumoured to exit, and that is Glenn Kamara. Now, Glenn Kamara during season 55, during the 55 title win, and also during the Europa League run, it was fair to say, was one of our key players and played with great skill and was one of our real talents in midfield. However, the last sort of 12 to 18 months, Glenn has been very, very poor. And since especially his two mates, Ariba and Bassi, left, he's been even worse. It really seems like Glenn downed tools and kind of gave up on any chance he had with continuing to forge a career at Rangers. It was kind of like, I don't know, it had gone stale on both parties. It was like that, that marriage that had gone on far too long, and both parties were just kind of staying together for the kids. I think that was kind of what was happening with Kamara and Rangers. Now the kids have left home, Bassi and Aribo. It's time the family, moved on, and the husband and wife perhaps did what's best for themselves. And I'm not saying who's the girl in this relationship, but it is time that Glenn Kamara moved on. Now, according to Michael Beale, Glenn Kamara had extra time before pre-season due to his international commitments and then illness. However, now he has returned to the squad. Kamara is apparently training on his own. He is not training with the first team squad. Now, negotiations are ongoing with Leeds and other clubs as well, apparently, to try and find a buyer for Glenn Kamara that matches Rangers' asking price of 5 million, or for 5 to 6 million, I think Rangers are looking for the Finnish international. Michael Beale has said that that Glenn is training on his own, that he's felt this is best for both Glenn and the squad, that he is on the edge, that he is away from the first team, and that he is not with the first team during their training sessions. So it really appears that he has been pushed out to the side, and it is time for him to go. It's time for him to move on. He hasn't done anything in the last 12 to 18 months to prove that he wants to stay at this club, and I think the fact that he is now training by himself and the club have kind of made him do that really does show that there is a parting of the ways coming between the club and Glenn Kamara. And at the end of the day, that's the best thing for both parties, isn't it? Kamara's run his course at Rangers, and for himself, he needs a new challenge, he needs a new start, wherever that may be, whether that be down south with Leeds or Southampton, whether that be on the continent with the Besiktas, for example, or another foreign club that play in Europe. But certainly Glenn Kamara is looking, obviously, for that move very, very soon indeed. The Viaplay League Cup last 16 draw took place today. Rangers have been drawn at home to Greenock Morton in a game, obviously, the Rangers will be heavily favoured. Viaplay League Cup for me is probably the least of our targets this season. Yes, a treble would be nice, but realistically for me, I would settle for a cup, Scottish Cup, and a league win, and then a run in Europe, whether that be in the Champions League or the Europa League. For me, that's more important than the Viaplay League Cup. It's a bit of a ridiculous competition now, where you've only got to kind of win, I think it's 4 games to actually win the cup. It's a bit of a non-event in terms of a competition. Personally, don't see the need for it. I think we should scrap it, but I suppose it draws in revenues for clubs. So for those clubs that are not the old firm, so hey, it's going to continue, isn't it? But personally, not a fan of it. like I said, if we win it, great. If we don't, I don't really care. Scottish Cup, the League Cup, Scottish League Cup far trumps the League Cup, and the Scottish League has to be our top priority, as well as obviously for our coefficient points doing well in Europe, not only for ourselves but to maintain 2 Champions League places for Scotland going forward. Okay, so let's move on now. Michael Beale. Michael Beale is gonna have some sleepless nights between now and Saturday. Look, pre-season's come, it's gone, and I think you come out of pre-season and you look at it, and to me, there's more questions than answers. What's our best lineup? Who should play up front? What system should we use? Where's Todd Cantwell best used? Can you have Cantwell and Lammers in the same team? Why persist with Cantwell on the left when it just doesn't work? So Fuentes comes into the team, when he finally signs, which is probably going to be next week. Where do you put him? Who do you play? Does Ryan Jack always have to play, or does Ryan Jack have to play the big games? Do we need a shield? Do we not need a shield? Can Nicholas Raskin do that? So many questions. That go through the minds of fans. But rest assured, these will be same questions that I think will be going through Michael Beale's head. What's my best formation? Where are my players best used? Who's my best? Who is in my best 11? These are all questions that he needs to answer. And I think, he's come out of 4 pre-season games, 5 if you count the behind closed doors game against Hallisher. But I think he's come out of it with more questions than answers. Now, obviously, players will be moved on over the next couple of weeks, whether that be players like Lundstrom and Barisic, but realistically, they could stay. Michael Beale does seem to like John Lundstrom and Borna Barisic. They do appear to be a couple of his favourites. And let's face it, all managers will have favourites. So, what's the story there? Now, is Beale going to use a 4-3-3? Is he going to use a 4-2-2-2? I think it is. I think I've covered all the positions there. 4-4-2. Is he going to have 3 at the back in Europe or against Celtic? How is he going to play it? And it's certainly an interesting one. And look, over this week, we'll look into it. We'll talk about it. Sam Lammers has been the superstar of pre-season for as much as anyone has. And Todd Cantwell hasn't had a great pre-season in those 4 games. And is it the fact that you can't play both of them together, or do they both want to play in the same role? Who's the best player to play there? Sam looks very gifted, 2-footed, very technical, but we saw what Todd can do last year. Like I said, there is a lot of questions still to be asked for this man, and I think, look, realistically, going forward, he's going to have a few sleepless nights. Do we play with width? Do we not play with width? Do the fullbacks give us width, or what's the options there? Do you use Tom Lawrence out there? Do you use Abdallah Seema out there? Or are there other options? Do you go 3 at the back and then use the wing backs, Ridvan and James Tavernier, to create the width, therefore taking away from the defensive duties because you've got 3 centre backs there to cover? And given how shocking our defence has been, maybe that's the answer. There is a lot of questions that have to be answered ahead of the game against Kilmarnock. And look, there's going to be a lot of hard work have to be done as well over this week as we build up towards the game. We get ready for the game. So let me know what you think. What's our best formation? Who plays? And who is the first names on the team sheet? For me, Lammers, Raskin, Cantwell, Butland all have to be. Goldson all have to be names that are first on the team sheet if fit and if ready to go for the game. Like I said, let me know in the comments below what you think. What's our best shape? Which players are the first names on the team sheet, and who is still playing for their future? Well, guys, I'm going to call that a day with this video. Thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, please hit that sub, ring that notification bell to make sure you never, ever miss out on any of the great daily content, updates, rumours, speculation, club statements, transfers, live streams, and podcast. Remember, coming up on Friday, a preview of the game, and obviously a live stream Saturday of the game as well. So come and join us for those. As always, I need you to do 2 things for me. Number 1, hit that like, smash it, guys. Help us build the video and build the channel. And number 2, always remember, we are the people.